Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Quiet Warrior Show. Hey, my name's Tom Dutta. I'm your host today, and I'm standing up because I've got so much energy for this interview. We're live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. What does that mean? Well, it's the next generation of podcasting. We're taping, and you get to peek into the studio today. You can, in the chat box, interact with us, and we may feature your comment on the screen. This will be made into a feature YouTube premiere video in the future, and also an international podcast. So our guest is in the green room standing by, and I'd like to introduce her a little bit about Kelsey CARIGNAN. Kelsey is the founder of Vibrant Yogi. She is a yoga instructor. She coined the vision, kindness cures, and she has an epic story of resilience through adversity, and she's a Toastmaster. So everybody, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, Kelsey.
Hi, thank you for having me, Tom. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really glad to have you here too. Want to tell the audience that we met through like what I call fortuitous intersections. Many people know that I've been doing some side hustles because of a brain injury a few years ago, getting back to my full, and was actually waiting tables at a restaurant, came across somebody who spoke very highly of you, and I reached out, and now we're connected. And I heard about Vibrant Yogi, and I went, what is that? And then I looked further, and literally my heart stopped, because you have this story to tell. And so I invited you on here so that we can tell the world this story through my platform. So if it's okay with you, I came across this funky little video, and I'd like to start that and just watch a little bit of it, and then we can get into talking about it. How's that?
Sure, sounds great.
All right, everybody, we're going to roll the tape here. If you're watching the video edition of this, you'll see it. If you're the audio, obviously, you'll just be hearing it. So stand by as we start this video. Here we go.
Happened. I had no clue how my life was going to change. Every day now, I'm so grateful for every second of it. So I'm a yoga instructor, and anytime I would do a push-up or any sort of pulling with my pec, I could feel just a tightness. And I figured, it's probably just a sore muscle, and I let it go. And then one day I looked down and my left nipple had kind of started to indent a little bit. And I was like, ooh, that's probably not a good thing. So I went to my GP, and she felt a really, really big lump. And she started feeling into my armpit and felt some lumps there. She didn't want to alarm me. Not a big deal, it moves, so that's a good sign. Usually cancer doesn't move around, but we're gonna get you in right away. After 2 biopsies, they determined that it was cancer. They needed to operate right away to try and get this thing under control. It had spread to my lymph nodes, and they didn't know how many.
Wow. I mean, does that video ever get old at the impact every time you see it?
Well, it gives me a lump in my throat when I see it. You know, it brings you right back into the moment, and the feelings are still there for sure.
Well, thank you. And first of all, I honor you for your courage to share that video, but also do that video, everybody, the sign of a leader and somebody who has vulnerability. That's the ultimate one. We're going to watch more of that, Kelsey. But first of all, you were 32 years old at that time, and I think you have 2 young boys. And you live in Langley, British Columbia, not far from where I do, in Port Moody, BC. Just take us into that part of the video. Just put us into the moment, how you felt. You know, what was life like when you discovered that you had breast cancer?
You know, you always think that it happens to other people. And when I found the lump, I was like, oh, I'm way too young. There's no way that this could be my story. And then when I went for my mammogram and the ultrasound, in that appointment, they told me right away I had to go to my doctor's right to my doctor and to call somebody who could be there to support me. And I knew in that moment that I was up against something huge. And when my doctor said the words, "It's cancer," it kind of felt like, oh, okay, I had always had this feeling that I was waiting for something, or that something was missing. And when I heard those words, it was kind of like the universe was just giving me what I needed to take those next steps.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you again. We honor you to share this story yet again, because talking about it, I'm sure, takes you back. But there's something remarkable about you. And I said this, I think I wrote this to you in a note, that when I saw the word Vibrant Yogi, and obviously that means something, you can talk about that. And when I first met you, I mean, audience, just take a look. This is a teaching moment. This is Kelsey. And when you hear the story, how long ago, it wasn't long ago that you were diagnosed, and here you are. But look at your attitude. And every time I've talked to you, or I've seen you, and I know this is where I tell you I love you and your story. I know every day is a tough day for somebody, because the brain wants to think the worst. We keep working, we keep working and fighting forward and focusing. So you did something really unique. You came up with kindness cures. Before I get into the video again, what does that mean?
So when I was going through everything, I was so sick of how negative it was. And I had a really good support system around me who wanted to do something, but there wasn't anything that they could do aside from be there for me. And so I got this idea to ask people to complete random acts of kindness and to tag me in them. And so when I was going through chemo and feeling just so bad, couldn't get out of bed, I would watch these moments back, and all of this kindness that spread like rapid fire. And it really blew my mind away just to see how much good could come from a negative situation by a simple choice.
Yeah, that's a great teaching moment. Everybody come back and listen to this part of the broadcast. In fact, you saw Kelsey, if you're watching it, with a little snap of the finger. And Kelsey, as you know, I do a lot of work with teaching about the brain. I've studied for a decade. It's purposeful for my life. And we can choose to have a positive or negative thought. And funny thing is, plants and animals can't, but we're the only species who can attach a different meaning to a thought. And so the first thing I thought of when I watched part of that video was like, she gets it. And you don't get that innately from somewhere. It just has to be, this resilience came from somewhere in your life, early years, or maybe just you got it when it's part of your character. But knowing that if you change the meaning of this event to something positive, the body's chemistry is amazing. It's a miracle machine. I'm not suggesting that everybody will overcome breast cancer, but it certainly puts you in a different state. Let me, with your permission, go back into the video. Let's take a look a little bit more.
Sure.
Back. All right, stand by.
I wanted to know what to expect and what was out there, and there was just nothing. So I just made the decision that I was going to make it the best thing that I possibly could and try and make it a little bit less scary for other women, so that they didn't have to feel that sense of loss and that sense of like, where do I go from here, that I felt. When I got my double mastectomy, they put tissue expanders in underneath the muscles, so that after radiation and hopefully after everything, there's a quick exchange where these guys go out and the new implant goes in. I was terrified. I had no idea what to expect. Is it going to hurt? How big's the needle? Am I going to be sore afterwards? So I posted it. You know, every woman wants to feel desirable and pretty and sexy, and those two scars and the bruising and the swelling was not desirable or sexy. It was a hard decision to actually post it. And the amount of positive feedback that I got from it, of women saying, thank you so much for showing me and for sharing your journey, and it blew my mind how many of us there are out there.
All right, let's get back to the two of us again. Just checking in. How you doing?
Good. It's,
okay.
You know, like I said, it brings me right back into the moment watching it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't well up a little bit in our souls and in our eyes, we don't have a pulse, and I can see the glazed eyes in you, and that's a strength. I want to just say something to you from my heart to yours, that When I watched that video, and I think I wrote you a passage yesterday that it hit me deeply. And I'm a guy who, because of some of the things I've been through, I have trouble crying or feeling emotion. It's true even when I speak. But that feeling, which I rarely get inside, I had it. It was this feeling of incredible emotion, almost like wanting to give you a big hug. So one of the things I want to say to you is that what you taught me, it's a blessing because I have never seen images like that. And the number one, courage to have that in a video. But I think it's, from what you said, it's needed. That in itself, you can tell a story all day long about so many things, and I'll give it back to you to talk about that part of the clip. That, self-esteem and believing in self, and feeling we're loved, feeling we're enough. Those are some of the basic human needs. And we live in a world where people judge people by what they look like. And so just as a woman knowing and seeing those images, this is you, this is your body, that helps me understand a lot more about what women go through when they go through something like this. It's a very, very deep emotional journey. Tell us a bit about that clip, give it back to you, and then also the unsung heroes in some of these stories are the husbands and the children. Anything you want to talk about there, because this had to be heavy on your family.
I think that that's a side of the breast cancer story, the cancer story that we don't often hear about. It's always the fighter who gets the spotlight. And it's really, my husband was my rock through all of this. And I mean, we had never navigated a personal health crisis like this before. So we didn't know. We had 2 young kids at the time, and it was hard. So he was great. He would give me my space to heal, and he would try and keep the kids active. And he really stepped up in a way that, I think it can make or break a relationship. And to me, it just made me fall deeper in love with him and know that if he can be there, not just through the fun times and the good times, but if he could be there when things are really hitting the fan, that, this is my guy.
Yeah, we're going to make sure he comes and watch this and plays that one little piece. What's his name? What's his name?
Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, she fell in love with you all over again. Just anchor that, buddy. So self-care is a big part of this too, right? Because I know that I don't have direct experience with it. My wife through something like that, but when you're seeing your partner struggle, there's different types of men, and I'm instinctively the kind who wants to be the caretaker. And it's really self-care for yourself when you're going through that. Ryan must have, being the rock, needed to fuel his tank. What about your boys? Tell us a bit about that. What age were they, and how do you sort of make sense of something that at their age, their brains can't even rationalize? They don't even understand.
My youngest still, so now he is 6. So he was about 3 at the time.
Yeah.
He still to this point, I think, doesn't really conceptualize the severity of what happened. But my oldest he's very intuitive and he's very aware. And so he knew, he could see me suffering. He saw physically his mom become almost a shell. When you're going through chemo, it knocks everything out. And I was fortunate enough to be able to keep most of my hair through a process called cold capping. So in that sense, I got to maintain a little bit of normalcy and somewhat a sense of control of knowing, or of controlling who knew that I was sick. But I mean, I lost my lashes, I lost my eyebrows, all that stuff. And, there were days where I couldn't get out of bed, and I had this rule for myself to always make my bed and open my blinds just for my own mental health, no matter how crappy I felt. And I wanted to show him that I could do that, even on those really crappy days where you don't feel like getting out of bed, you get out of bed. And some days I crawled right back into it, but I showed him that commitment, and I honored that commitment each day.
Yeah, it's awesome. My mind went on a journey. It goes in different directions as you're speaking. And I was raised as a military kid, an Army brat. My dad was commanding officer. I was taught to make the bed every morning, and boy, we resented that. And it's funny because I developed this habit, and it was only a few months ago I came across a video, Kelsey, by a general in the U.S. military. It was on YouTube. I think it was a TED Talk or maybe just a video, and it was called uh, "If You Want to Be Successful in Life, Make Your Bed." And I had to watch it, and I watched it. And really, what we're talking about, everybody, is if you start your day off with accomplishing something small, it sets the brain up to feel you can accomplish more. It's a very positive thing. And here's Kelsey. I know in the video, we're going to keep it going in a minute. There was one line in there, I won't steal a thunder, about, I think you explained what it felt like going through chemo. And that just rocked me. And it's like, oh my God. First of all, I can't relate to some of that, but holy smokes, it's amazing. Before we get back into the video, so as did you have any history of cancer in the family?
No, well, my dad's mom had it, but I was fortunate enough to get genetic testing done through BC Cancer Agency, and it turned out that there was 0 genetic component to it.
Wow. And to this day, I know you can't always pinpoint, but has there been any revelation in what might have triggered that?
I mean, you could guess until you're blue in the face. I know that there's been studies that have shown a correlation between alcohol consumption, obviously toxins around your body. I was a university student and liked to frequent the bars. And, I think when I was younger, I didn't take the best care of my body. But to sit here and to think, was this it? Was this it? I'm not really a sit in the past kind of person. I'm a leaning forward, and what can I do today to maybe reduce some of those toxins or to increase the right things within my body to help keep that cancer away.
Yeah, everybody, thank you, Kelsey. There's another teaching moment. You just heard that Vibrant Yogi side of Kelsey. She said, I'm not a stay in the past person. And I want to riff on that for a minute, that I love that keep looking forward. I think also the fact that you said that about looking after your body, and when you're younger, we're carefree, that also can be a trigger for others to say, what's that all about? My father, as you know, my story, was a chronic alcoholic, and he passed away a few years ago from a heart attack. But dad was dry 22 years in AA. But what I saw, how he treated his body, later in life, he paid. So certainly seeing that. I almost wonder, they say that when children go through adversity and pain, they become stronger. It becomes a superpower weapon. How do you feel about that thought? Your children going through this may not realize, but they're forming this, I think, this resilience from their mom's story. Did you even consider that?
Oh my gosh, that was a massive part of my healing. I know for a lot of people, they don't want to go down that route of what if I'm not here. But for me, I had to go all the way into the rabbit hole and to the bottom of that hole so that I could start to get myself out of it. And that's not for everybody. I don't suggest that for everybody. But for me, that was what I needed to do. And so I eventually got to the point where even today, I understand that if I'm not here, we all have stories. We all have tough points in our stories. And if losing their mom is a part of my boys' story, I know that they're going to be okay, because that is what happens in life. And my goal is just to give them the tools to look at any of these challenges, whether it's me or it's not me, whether it could be a million things, but to look at these tough things that get thrown at us and to see how we can use them to fuel purpose, rather than, like, I like to visualize it as laying sand to step on top of, rather than getting buried underneath it.
Yeah, that's quite a visual. I'm just processing that now, and I can see that. And I just want to say one more thing, and then we'll get back into the video for a couple of minutes, to actually see you go through that journey of the chemo and things, which is quite remarkable when you see it on the video. That up until age 15 or so, what I know from studying brain science is the prefrontal cortex, which is a rational brain, doesn't really work well, and so the children believe everything they hear, because it just goes in and the brain wires it in what we call neural nets, basically our thinking patterns. So therefore, if you grow up and somebody says you're fat and ugly, whether you are or not, the unconscious mind wires it in that that's truth. One of the things I saw in the video, which you can tell us about when we see it, is there was a meme that said getting cancer was the best thing that happened to me, something like that. And I went, wow, the insight, like you get this, because if I'm your children and I'm hearing my mom speak that way, guess what's wiring into my unconscious thought patterns? Getting cancer is the best thing. So if they ever get something like cancer, some other situation that's tough, they're going to remember that. They're going to associate that with, positive thinking. I mean, I just think it's a gift, and what you put out there, I think the world needs to hear more of it. Let's get back into that video, okay?
Sure.
All right, stand by.
I would tell people it would feel kind of like if you had the worst flu in the entire world and your worst hangover in the entire world and they had a baby. That was what chemo felt like for me.
That was it. That line.
I saw so much negativity out there. If I was going to beat this thing, I knew I needed to have a team behind me of supporters and positivity, and that's where the Kindness Cures started. So I asked the people who were following me just for someone and to put it on Instagram and tag me in it. And then when I was having tough days, I would go through and I would be like, Kate, we did this, we did this, we did this. We had an army of kindness and of people doing good things from this stupid bad thing. And it just kind of caught on like wildfire, where people would tag their friends in it and then their friends would do it. And all of a sudden, complete strangers were sending me messages of hope and of inspiration. And that was when I started to really see the power that Instagram could have. I can tell you hands down, my best Instagram post was my first push-up that I did after surgery. Every ounce of strength and learning new muscle movements, and I did it. That feeling of victory afterwards, it's like, yes, you cannot tell me what I can and cannot do. No clue how my life was going to change.
I'm just going to pause that because I lost my place in that video. We'll come back to it.
Sure.
While I'm finding my place again, talk to us about that push-up, because we don't always realize the physiological side of this.
Yeah, movement was my sanity. Going to yoga, that was just what would get me through things. And so when they did my mastectomy, I mean, you saw in the clip at the beginning, you're butchered. Like, I had incisions, massive incisions, and the implants were placed underneath my muscle. And so they really recommended not to be doing push-ups or any chest work, because it can cause the implant to shift if you're even able to do it again. And I just, I remember when my surgeon said that to me, I was like, well, that's not really going to work for me. So, so I remember, I'm really an advocate for listening to your body, but at the same time, I know when my body needs a big kick in the butt, and I knew that I was going to be doing that push-up again, come hell or high water, no matter what. So when it happened, it was, even thinking about it now, I get the goosebumps, and it was a proud moment for sure.
Well, we saw that fist bump in the video, so it's time for a quick celebration. Just let's have some fun here. There it is. We're celebrating the first push-up. Oh my goodness, it's all for you there, Kelsey. The thing about that is, and I think about, I do a lot of work on heroes' journeys, or heroes. The narrative of heroes are people who push through the wall. There's a great movie called Moneyball that I watch. I want to share this with you as a quick story. That Brad Pitt was in it. It was about a baseball team that really got gutted, all their talent. So he re-engineered a way to build a team with a low budget and with broken players that, as an aggregate, could actually achieve more runs. And that team, he turned it around and made it almost to the pennant. They didn't win the pennant, but a team that was not supposed to do anything went almost to the championship. And so he was recruited. They put him in a limousine, drove him down. His name was Billy Bean. That was the name of the Oakland I can't remember the name of the team, but it was in California. He was brought down to the Boston Red Sox by the owner in a limousine, and he sat. And in the scene of the movie, yeah, he was very disappointed, and the owner said, "Man," he said, "look, what you did with that team. If every other owner isn't tearing down their team now and rebuilding it the way you did," he said, "then they're missing the boat." He said, "The first one through the wall always gets bloody," and that's my favorite quote. That when you push through the wall, you're going to get bloody. That could have shifted those things, but the courage to do it, Kelsey, you're a hero. And I think about so many other people like the Rick Hansons and all who did the Man of Motion tour, but all the other people who sat in wheelchairs and withered away. There's something of resilience in you. And I believe, as you've taught us today, it's all about mindset. Your brain said, "No, I'm doing this," when somebody said you shouldn't do it. That's amazing. Let's get back into the video and finish the journey. It might be a slight repeat here, so here we go.
New muscle movements, and I did it. That feeling of victory afterwards, it's like, yes, you cannot tell me what I can and cannot do.
Everybody, she endured 8 rounds of chemo followed by 25 rounds of radiation. We're seeing that on the screen.
I'm in remission, which is really, really exciting.
Well, my oncologist didn't even make it seem like a big deal. She casually dropped the, "Well, now that you're in remission." And I'm like, wait, what? I am?
How are you?
And you think you're out of the woods, but now it's shifted to, okay, now what?
Thank you, everyone, for all of your love and support through this journey. It is not over, but today is definitely a milestone.
Exhale, release.
All right, let's get back here. I should put the fireworks back on again. We'll give you a minute to gather your thoughts. I know that makes you emotional. I can see that. That's like, there's nothing I can compare to it. I have no comparison. Tell us how in that moment, take us back into that. Just tell us anything. How did you feel? Was there, what was it? What was it all about?
To cross the finish line is, it was probably, I want to say, a year of chemo, radiation, all of the things. And so you're constantly taking one step. And then you reach that finish line. And like I said in the video, it's kind of like, now what? And for me, that was when the real work began up here. You are so used to fighting and having something that you can be doing to rid your body of this, and then all of a sudden you're done, and you're kind of shell shocked. You don't really know what to do next. And there's this, I ran a restaurant with my family, and there was this, "Are you going to go back into that?" And everybody just kind of expects you to assume life as normal. And yeah. I realized in healing that I was forever changed, and there was no going back. There was only going forward. And I knew moving forward that I was going to be very intentional about what I let into my circle, and very intentional about what I kept out of my circle. So saying no's and putting up boundaries was something that became a really, really high priority for me, and not living my life for other people anymore. And I really decided that I wanted to start doing things that fueled my soul and that made me happy and helped to peel back the layers of who I am to share the gift that I've got and the story that I've got.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think about that sometimes, that people I've met, and I think the story that I was doing the ride to conquer cancer in fall 2018, no pun, but I fell in a bathtub, and that's where my brain injury happened. And it's funny, when I met you, they say that we're connected by threads in our stories. Here I meet you, and I didn't know, and you're a survivor, or we don't like that word. You are a champion. You are inspiration to so many people. And yet, a few years ago, I didn't know you, and I was riding on that ride. And I'll just tell you that before we started, there were 2,000 bikers, Cloverdale Fairgrounds, and they said, "Okay, look to your left, look to your right, take a look around." And I did. And they said all the bikes that have yellow flags, those people are either battling through some form of cancer, or they're survivors. It was amazing. And I remember this is an absolute quote from me. My wife reminds me because I had blacked out and I had serious issues in my head after I fell in the bathtub. And by the way, everybody, that was after doing 120K on the bike. So I was feeling great. And then life stopped. But Anna got mad at me because I got up and this was literally, everything was wrong. And so I slept in the bed with my head leaning against the headboard at the motel. And we were supposed to be in the team truck at 5 a.m. going to get our bikes. And I said, Anna, give me the Tylenol. And I took a bag of Tylenol. And she said, you're not doing this. I said, yeah, I am. And this is what I said. And I'm going to write about it again. I said that the people who have cancer didn't have a choice. They had to fight for it. So now I look back at life, and after meeting some of those people, it was funny. The last thing I want to tell you on that, Kelsey, is it's a chuckle moment for me that I was riding. And this guy, he must have been about 70, he zooms by on me on the bike, and this is like a little hill, and I'm going like, what? Excuse me? You want to come back here? You're making me feel bad. And I saw him at the next rest stop, and I said, so what's your story? Because you have a yellow flag. He was in chemo. Like, this guy passed me, and he's in chemo. It's like, I never complain anymore about my life when I put it in perspective and hear stories like yours. That's the blessing of your story, to give us perspective and hope. Let's finish off with the cool part is you created this Vibrant Yogi. Everybody, the website is on the screen there, vibrantyogi.ca. You got to go there. It's very well put together. But tell us about that. It's something you're doing with this. Tell us about that.
So again, it came from that whole idea of kindness cures. The pandemic had hit, and I was just kind of figuring things out, getting my footing after treatment and all of that. And I could see people just struggling. This was when everything shut down. Everybody was stuck at home, couldn't go out. And I was like, oh, this kind of looks like when I was going through chemo. You know, you can't really see a whole lot of people. You are stuck in your house. And I knew in that moment that it was an opportunity for me to give back to the people who had literally carried me through my treatment. And so I started teaching free yoga classes every morning at 10 a.m. and thousands of people came through the classes over a 60-day period. We did it for 60 days consecutively. And it gave all of us a sense of purpose. It gave us a sense of routine, which, like I said earlier, bed and blinds going through chemo, you have to have those things to give your day structure to keep on going in those uncertain times. And so when the 60 days ended and we started to kind of see things opening up, I was like, okay, that was fun. Thanks for doing it. And my inbox exploded with people asking if we could keep going. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away. And so we turned it into a membership program and decided we wanted to keep kindness and giving back as one of our pillars in the business. And so for each membership purchased, we donate a membership to a woman going through breast cancer currently. So, yeah.
Wow, that's just amazing. So we're going to put that in the show notes, Kelsey, everybody to honor that so people can check it out and, you know, maybe do something so that they can contribute membership to somebody in need. As we move to wrapping up here, there's so much more we could talk about. Just so love you in the story that a couple things I do when as I'm interviewing is I write down words. You don't see this in my studio, but they're unscripted as you speak. These are what I call leadership words. So I want to honor you with these, and then we have an award for you. The first one is courage. It's absolutely, that's you. The next one is love. It comes out of you. This is this feeling, this aura. Number 3 is vibrant, of course. I'm going to steal your word, but people, when you see this video, you know, and you can hear it through your voice. And the last 2 I'm bundling together, trailblazer and mentor. And a trailblazer is somebody who blazes a trail to a place they haven't been before, maybe blazes a trail to a place many people need to go. Kindness cures is certainly a shift in thinking. And then the word mentor, the difference between a coach and mentor is stark. A mentor is somebody who, when you ask them for advice, they can share an experience that you're going through. That makes a difference. That's why I believe everybody, Kelsey, is a mentor. If you're going through this journey or you're concerned about, you know, the health of your body that way, contact Kelsey. She has a lot of experience she can share. And so we're going to give you an award here. I like this part of the, and this is fun because I get to actually give it to you in person because a lot of my guests aren't here. They're in other countries. So I'm going to full screen me for a minute. You might say, what is he doing that for? Well, we'll see. There you go. So behind me is this screen saver. And so I'm going to put me back together with you again. And there's a bit of a story behind that. So that's actually an image that is of what's called a challenge coin. So whether you've heard of these or not, challenge coins were created in World War II, Kelsey, and they were created to, soldiers would carry it to commit to each other in community. And so you would have fun if you showed up without your coin, maybe you'd buy drinks or dinner. And around the world, they're used today in every community, first responders, AA, clubs. This one I had hand painted and crafted, raised letters and all, for the show award. The front is the image of the show. There's a guy there, kind of looks a little bit like somebody you know. And the back of it is the hero's journey narrative, which is what the basis of my show is, Joseph Campbell's teachings on, the threads in our stories and how heroic we can be. So this will be given to you, and when you receive it, only 45 or so a year go out. You commit to continue your purpose, taking action and living the life that you deserve and you desire, and changing others. So welcome to the Quiet Warrior Tribe.
What an honor. Honestly, Tom, I don't know if your listeners know or not, but you have been a mentor to me, really, really helping me navigate steps in my own journey. And I am just beyond grateful for you sharing your story, sharing this platform, and kind of taking me under your wing and helping me take the steps that you've also walked. So thank you for all that you've done for me so far. I know it's just the beginning of our journey, but I'm really grateful.
Oh, thanks. I am too. Before I start getting a little emotional here, I better put on the quick celebration video, compose myself. All right, we'll take that one for both of us, right?
Yeah, I know. Give us a minute here.
Yeah. So by carrying this coin, here's an interesting thought I want you to keep. You and I are connected for life now because of the thread in our story. That's my gift. But when we have our down moments or darkest challenges, just think that there's now 200 people around the world with these in their pockets. And we are all a family. We're all connected. And my dream one day is to get many of them together and for us to meet each other. But on that note, I'm going to give it back to you so that you can have the last word. Tell us where we can get a hold of you and anything you want to leave as a final thought to those who will hear your story.
For sure. So you can definitely move with us. We do a free community class once a month, and the best way is to go to our website, vibrantyogi.ca, and you can register for it there. I'm also really active on Instagram, as you've seen. So it's at vibrant.yogi, and you get a little snippet into my life and some self-care tips. And really that platform is a space that I've created for my own healing, but sharing those ideas around healing with our community. So I hope to connect with some of you guys. And
vibrant.yogi, you got to do that. And I think there's other things in the works for you, maybe even considering doing a TED Talk and some other things to get your story out. So we'll pray on that and wish you the best. Everybody, this isn't the last you've heard of this lady. So on that note, everybody find that true passion and purpose like you hear from Kelsey's story and live the life that you deserve and desire. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.